Please let me know if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have the two speakers here. May Soma will be speaking on the history of SARS and generally police brutality in Nigeria. So Miss Soma, if you're ready, you can unmute yourself and begin. Miss Soma, can you hear me? Hello? Miss Soma, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I'll be sharing your slide now.
So if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
You've muted yourself again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. Today, the topic of my presentation is police brutality and the right to live. It's basically focusing on what is ongoing now, the protests being engaged by the almost everyone. I won't say it's the youth because it's all ages, including the youth, the elderly ones, even religious bodies. Now we can see that some religious bodies has joined. The elderly ones are now part of the protest. And what is the issue? The issue is about the police, the body that is supposed to be protecting us, the body that is supposed to be our friend, the body that we're supposed to call on when we are in danger, when we are endangered, when we don't know what to do, when we are in the middle of the night and we are met with confusing situation. The normal thing that every human being, every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should have is a number that is a police number that they can call anytime to save them from a situation. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. We don't have such number. In America, I think it's 911, but in Nigeria, we don't even have any number. So the issue here is the SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, the body that is formed to fight crime, but is seen to be the one to perpetuate crime in the society. So now, please, the next slide. Let me open it on my own. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Like I said earlier, the police force in Nigeria is formed to protect the lives and property in Nigeria. It's regulated by the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Police Act 2020, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, the Anti-Torture Act 2017. The police has many departments, but we will focus on the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which is the issue here. It is believed that the police is your friend, but the contrary is the case, and so many Nigerians complain a lot. about Nigerians, about a police force. The police is a federal body and there is no state police. So that means the police in Nigeria, they are not subject to the dictates and instruction of the governors of various states of Nigeria. So the police is expected to be subject to the rule of law. Everybody is equal to is under the law. Nobody is above the law. We are all equal before the law. You may ask, what is rule of law? Rule of law is respect and protection for human rights by the government, by the servants of government, by the agents of government, and everyone in a country. So human rights are the freedom, the liberty, the immunities, the benefits that all human beings are entitled to by virtue of being a human being. We enjoy that right as a matter of fact because we are born and created by God in a country and in a society that we live in. Everyone has a right to live. We have a right to life. We have a right to peaceful assembly. We have a right to movement. We have a right to protest. All these are entrenched in Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, in the African Charter, in various international rules that we have. Without human rights, life is meaningless because someone can just wake up and get angry with his neighbor and raise a fist on the neighbor or a weapon on the neighbor and get the neighbor killed and nothing will happen. But it's the laws that we have that regulate the animalistic tendencies that we see in some human beings that will make you to air your view within the ambit of the law and nobody will come after you. So human rights can only be restricted in the interest of defense, in the interest of public safety, in the interest of public order, in the interest of public morality, public health, and for the purpose of protecting the rights and freedom of other persons. Like I said, that right is regulated only to protect the public at large. And it's seen in Section 45 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So here today, we want to explore and address the police and the respect for the rule of law. We all know that the Nigerian police, they don't respect the rule of law. You might be, personally, I have my own personal experience with the police. A police officer will stop you and demand for your phone to be searched and demand for your ID card without regard, without respect for your respect as a human being. And if you refuse, they will unleash their weapon on you. So we tend to fear the police because of the arms that they are armed with. So our aim here is to look at the fact that the police, yes, they have the arms with them, but they have to work within the ambit of the law. Hello, are you with me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Okay. Every Nigerian has a right to life. We have a right to express ourselves within the ambit of the law. It's protected by the Constitution. The Constitution is supreme. And every other law that goes against the dictates of the Constitution, to the extent of its inconsistency, is void. What I mean by this statement is that an act may be created in Nigeria, which might be able to protect some unruly behavior of some agencies. But for the fact that you match those acts, those sections of in tandem with the written laws in the Constitution, to the extent of the inconsistencies of those acts, they are void. So I will give an example with the recent Police Act that was made, Police Act of 2020, that had to support recruitment, recent recruitment into the police force. The Court of Appeal recently gave a judgment stating that those sections of the Police Act, which are inconsistent with the Constitution, remain null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. That doesn't mean that the whole Police Act is void, but those sections of the Police Act that is inconsistent with the constitutions are declared null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. Currently in Nigeria today, there is a mass protest in various states of the country demanding the scrapping and banning of SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad unit of the police, on the complaints of lack of respect for the human rights of citizens. There are so many cases of assault, illegal arrests, rape, extortion, torturing, maiming, and killing of innocent citizens, extrajudicial killings. For the fact that we are not doing what the SARS says at the moment, they might just engage in some illegal activities and get away with it. So these are the things that Nigerians are protesting against. We can see that in various states in Nigeria, currently in Lagos, in the East, in Onitsha, presently, there are so many people protesting. Why are those people protesting? Each and every one of them, they have a story to tell, personal stories to tell, relating to either a cousin or a relation. In Nigeria, it might interest you. For you to engage in a protest, you have to get a permit. It must be obtained before public meetings and processions in streets and other public places before you can hold and legally hold any protest in Nigeria. This is provided by the various public order laws of various states in Nigeria. Surprisingly, you find out that in this current protest that is going on, yes, it is a peaceful protest, but there is no formal application for the permission to hold such protests going on. But it's still protected under the law, yes, because it is peaceful. It is not the protest that is armed with violence and maybe engaging in illegal acts. Those can still be accommodated under the law. The various public order laws authorize public authorities to refuse a permit to hold a public meeting or procession if, in their opinion, a breach of peace is like I said, this is a peaceful protest. So even if that permit was not obtained, nobody is harmed. No breach of peace is being encountered. So we'll say that they are still conducting the present protest within the ambit of the law. Okay. Special Anti-Robbery Squad was created in late 1992. It was intended to deal with crimes associated with robbery, major vehicle theft, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and crimes involving firearms. It was created in late 1992 when a general of the army was killed. So in the end, this particular body was created. Later, it was disbanded on the 11th of October 2020, following the current protest that we are experiencing. On the 13th of October 2020, the Inspector General of Police, hello? Are you with me?
Very well, very well.
Okay. On the 13th of October 2020, the Inspector General of Police hello?
Hello, can hear you.
Okay. I said on the 13th of October 2020, the Inspector General of Police, M.A. Adamu, announced the replacement of SARS with Special Weapons and Tactics Team in accordance with Section 1810 of the Police Act. I had earlier spoken of the Police Act. It was founded by the former Commissioner of Police, Simeon Dandadi Midenda. That's an Hausa man. NSAS campaign did not start today because various complaints against them. 2017, there was an attempt to scrap it. 2018, our present Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo, ordered the overhaul of the SARS. Then it was renamed Federal Anti-Special Robbery Squad, 2019. Okay, in 2019, it was decentralized, and here we are in 2020. So in summary, we will say that the police presently, though there are good ones in the body, but basically they have created a very bad impression to the citizens they are supposed to protect, creating an impression of brutality, hostility, and unfriendliness. And this is not supposed to be so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soma, for the presentation. So please, if you have questions for Ms. Soma, you can start sending them in. She has given us the history of SARS. She's talked about rule of law, the right to protest. But then recently, Governor Wike banned protest in River State, and when protesters went straight to him, he acknowledged them and even acknowledged that way back he led the NSAS protest alone without anybody. So I would like to know if a governor of a state or anybody at all has the right to um, ban protest, peaceful protest, ban in its entirety.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, nobody has a right to ban a peaceful protest in Nigeria because peaceful protest is entrenched and protected by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have a right to peaceful assembly. We have a right to associate. And we have a right to protest peacefully. And that is why he had to change his position. His Excellency, the Governor of River State, His Excellency, Governor Wike, is a lawyer and he knows that he was wrong. So, and that was why he quickly retrenched and came back to the normal legal lane to state that he had been the one that has been protesting even before the actual protest started. So, by virtue of the human rights that are protected under Chapter 4 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, no citizen has a right to ban peaceful protest in Nigeria, be it a governor, be it a president, be it a IGP. So far, that protest is peaceful. So thank you.
Okay, I wanted to draw your attention. Some people feel that the obtaining police permits to protest is a breach of the fundamental right to express themselves that is enshrined in the Constitution. Because if the police denied them that permit, they cannot express themselves, and that should be made inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution.
Okay, I stated when I was explaining, when I was giving my presentation, I said that we all have a right to peaceful assembly. We all have a right to express ourselves, but those rights are imbibed within the ambit of the law, within Section 45 of the Constitution, in the interests of public order, in the interest of public safety. So, like I said, peaceful protest, for the fact that it is peaceful, is not breaching public safety, is not breaching public order. Even if the police did not grant them that permit, they are still covered within the law. We have a right to protest under the Constitution. So far, it's peaceful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Soma.
I don't know, moderator. I
yes.
don't know, moderator. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, I just want to make a quick intervention to the last question and just to lend my voice to it. I don't know if I'm permitted to do that.
Yes, you are, please.
Okay, yes, I think Ms. Soma has done a great job on this topic. She has actually discussed extensively on the legal implications and situations around the police brutality. But I only want to point out that Police Order Act or laws that she rightly mentioned, has, since there have been a judicial decision on that point by courts in this country, and the Court of Appeal just recently has held that no citizen of this country needs any police permit before they could conduct any protest or assembly, that by virtue of the provisions with respect to the right to and association, that every citizen of this country has the right to engage in peaceful protest. So the provisions of the Police Act or the Police Order Act that before now used to be the position that before any peaceful protest, whether peaceful or violent, any protest of that nature could be done, that you require the permit of the Inspector General of Police. That section of the law is in contravention of Section 1, Sub 3 of the Constitution. That is a breach of the citizens' fundamental rights to assembly, expression, and to, of course, to protest. So that is the position of the law as of today. No citizen, based on the current protests going on in the country, I do not think that citizens of this country requires any police permits before they could engage in such protests. So that is just my intervention that I want to make.
Okay, there's another question here for Ms. Soma, and Chime, that doesn't stop you from contributing. As legal practitioners, why are we not lending our voices to this ongoing protest, like coming together to state publicly the actions of the police shooting?
Well, legal practitioners are protesting peacefully, I must say. Maybe the person that asked the question has not really followed.
Hello, Ms. Soma, we cannot hear you.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, I said maybe the person that asked the question has not really followed up with the news to notice. Legal practitioners, all walks of life, including the governors, celebrities, doctors, all walks of life, all arms of occupation, they are basically protesting. We are all lending our voices against what is the brutality, the illegality that is going on in the police force. And we are all asking for a total reform of the police, an overhaul of the police to be able to serve all of us well. As at 3 days ago, legal practitioners protested in Ikeja, Lagos. The same thing 4 days or 3 days ago, the chairman, or the president of Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Olumide Akpata, released a statement to the press, which was forwarded to all legal practitioners with respect to the issue of police brutality and the protests. So religious bodies are also protesting. So legal practitioners are participating. Me personally, I'm also participating in the protest. And my own is peaceful protest. So we are all lending our voices to it.
You are participating in your room. That's what they like, it.
I'm also protesting peacefully. You can protest in kind. You can protest in form. Yes, there are ones that are donating. You donate to be able to fund those out there. You can donate to, you can come physically. Presently, I physically went out, I think just once. So we are all protesting, and we believe that our voices will be heard to be able to bring total reform, which will help all of us to bring out a new Nigeria. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, to add to what Ms. Soma said, the NBA Lagos branch protested and they marched to the Commissioner of Police office. They went to Alausa And yes, they are lending their voices, and there are other ways to protest. It's not until it is done physically, you come with placards that you have protested. This webinar is also part of the protest. You can join your mind and hearts, and the Catholics too. Yesterday and today, they protested by praying. They prayed the rosary at Alausa and at the toll gates, Lekki. And there are other people too protesting with their businesses. I saw someone that baked a cake, NSAS, and brought to the protest ground. And people protest with their music. People protest on social media. One way or the other, we are all enjoined to join and support the protest. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Omar, for doing justice to the topic. If as questions come in, I will refer them to you. So Sullivan Chime will be, sorry, Kingsley Chime will be talking
I was coming to that. I was coming to correct that.
Sorry, yes, I'm used to calling you Sullivan Chime, but his real name is Kingsley Chime. It's going to talk about continuing from where Ms. Sommer stopped, but he's also going to address the issue of the military getting involved in the protest. Military is supposed to get involved in internal crisis. What is our faith when military gets involved? Drawing our mind back to what happened to Mali when military got involved, how it got out of hand. Okay, so Mr. Chime, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much, Yusi, for inviting me for this webinar, and thank you so much for those joining us and participants alike. Honestly speaking, I had thought that this webinar is going to be an interactive session where questions are asked, and we can make a few interventions. I personally do not have a slide to show or something to read out to the participants this webinar. However, I would attempt to address some of the questions as they come, and of course, the moderator will also guide us in that direction. Now, you have asked a question that just recently the Nigerian Army has tweeted on their social media pages requesting for the president's permission for them to quell the rising uprising in the country. And of course, one would be surprised or be wondering what is the role of the military in matters such as this. And like Mesoma did said, the right to protest is a constitutional right of citizens. And indeed, it is one of those ways through which the citizens express their resentment or their views on the policies of government. So the Nigerian Armed Forces has a statutory duty to perform under the law, and such duties does not require them to make interventions such as this. Citizens have come in unison to condemn the prolonged police brutality and the actions or activities of Special Anti-Robbery Squad over the years. But I do not think that the armed forces has a responsibility in matters such as this. The Constitution, particularly Section 217, subsection 2, that created the Nigerian Armed Forces, and of course the Armed Forces Act, provides for the duties or the responsibility of the armed forces. And some of these responsibilities are defending Nigeria from external aggression, territorial integrity and border security, suppressing insurrection, and acting in aid of civil authorities to restore order when called upon to do so by the president. One would think that the military's intervention or call for them to intervene in this uprising was done in good faith based on the provisions of Section 2172 sub C that talks about suppressing insurrection and acting in aid to civil authorities to restore order. One would be asking, was there any insurrection that entails the military to come and intervene? And even if there is there any civil disobedience arising therefrom? Is there any issue that will require the armed forces? Because from the outset of this protest, it has always been civil. It has always been peaceful. This is one of the most coordinated protests I've ever witnessed in my life. And one will be wondering why this massive support for this outcry. But I think it's long overdue. It stems off from the long period of police brutality, particularly that unit of the Nigerian police that have become notorious for backing. There are so many gory stories of people, the experiences in the hands of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And if you look at the trajectory of this corps, as far back as 2017, when this state SARS was said to have been banned, for records, it is important to note that this is the fourth time the federal government of Nigeria is coming forward to tell Nigerians that they have banned SARS. And people have been asking, okay, one of the requests of these protesters is that the SARS be disbanded. And the federal government, in their wisdom, have decided to ban it yet again, just like they have banned it in previous years. But citizens have developed this mistrust. There is no trust between the government and its citizens. So if the federal government has told citizens of this country for the past 3 years that they have been banning this Special Anti-Robbery Squad consecutively, and after a while they will resurface with the antecedents. So citizens are saying enough is enough. And apart from this protest, it also goes to show, like I said elsewhere, that this protest is not necessarily about SARS. It is about citizens' disillusionment or disenchantment with the leadership of this country. People are tired. People want a genuine change in the way we used to do things. People want accountability. People want those in leadership positions to be responsible for their actions and inactions. And like you said, the moderator said, that we should not escalate the situation. And that is why Nigerian military should be cautioned. They should not make any interventions because the story will not be palatable. Yes, if you trace the history of similar uprisings across the globe, particularly the Arab Spring, we all knew how it all started. It was as a result of police. I think one Mohammed was where he sells vegetables. The police came there and threw his goods on the floor, on the ground that he did not obtain permits for him to sell those items. And the man eventually set himself on fire, which resulted in what has become the Arab Spring. So what is happening in Nigeria today is a story foretold. We should not treat it like the way you used to do things. We should be very, very circumspect. And of course, I have listened to the body languages of those in leadership positions, particularly the vice president, most just recently, where he admitted that the government of Nigeria has failed. And that is a first step towards restitution and ensuring citizens that they are willing to change the way things are done. So, in summary of this particular question, I think the role of the military is well defined and does not require any interpretation. The Nigerian Armed Forces, which involves the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, primary responsibility is territorial, to safeguard our territorial integrity and border security and defend Nigeria from external aggression. What is happening today is not external, it's internal. And all these things are like rat race. What goes around comes around. What Nigerians are asking, particularly the youth, is that Nigeria should be made better for everybody, not just for those who are protesting, but for the Nigerians yet unborn. So I do not think that the Nigerian military has a role to play in this. The stories of Nigerian military in the past and the interventionist movement has not been so palatable. We are witnesses just recently during the Mazob or IPOB protests in the East, how the military went there and caused a lot of havoc. So it is a no-no for me. And they should restrict themselves within the bounds of the constitution or their powers under the acts and the laws of this country. That is my position. Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear
Sorry, I
me?
muted myself. Thank you, Mr. Chime. I'm sharing a picture of what the police barrack looks like. And I would like you to also address whether the police are hasty in their decision or the government generally is hasty in their decision. Because Miss Sommer, when she spoke, she gave the history of SARS, why SARS was set up. It has a special function. I could remember what armed robbery used to be like in Nigeria back then. But now, armed robbery has been curbed, even though the SARS has taken power upon themselves to be lords of their own. But then, does that still is it about ending SARS or psychologically helping the police in general? Because we've ended SARS, but the institutions still exist, and they are all the same. They all have the same training. The police college, I know what the state it is in, and even though we end SARS, okay, now they've ended the SARS, but they have brought SWAT now, SWAT rather. And you mentioned that this is like the fourth time they're ending SARS. Now, what is our fate? Even though they end the SARS tomorrow and they've come back with SWAT, is that not going to continue? Even if they end the SWAT, the police brutality in general, is it not going to continue because the police institution still exists? Can you address that, please?
Okay, thank you very much. I think let me begin with the first leg of the question that talks about whether the decision of the Nigerian police in disbanding the notorious SARS unit is hasty. And I think it's long overdue. Like I said from the outset, that this is not the first time the police authorities are telling Nigerians that the SARS unit has been disbanded. So it is not a hasty decision. In fact, it was one of those steps, immediate steps they took in addressing the concerns of the protesters. I think it's important also to note that the problem with the Nigerian police force is institutional. It's not really about SARS per se. The agitations of these protesters is not about SARS, because SARS is a unit in the police force. And when we talk about police brutality, it cut across all the units of the Nigerian police. We all have one or two stories to tell about the activities of the Nigerian police in general. So it is, for me, it is not about banning SARS, I mean, disbanding SARS and creating it's like the hand of Esau in the body of Jacob. They are one and the same. So what is happening in SARS, in that unit of the SARS, is a microcosm of the ills that has bedeviled the security architecture of this country, particularly the police. They have been operating with impunity, without consequences. So if you look at from 2000, I will give you a short steps that have been taken in the past. Judicial inquiries or presidential inquiries that have been set up over the years to address the issue of police brutality. And up until today, we are still talking about the same issue. In 2005, there was a commission led by one Mr. Shewomi, Presidential Committee Administration of Justice Reform. They had a report detailing the police brutality and how to address such issues. 2005. In 2006, almost a year after, another presidential commission on police reform was established by DIG Mohammed. And they also have a report almost similar to that of 2005. In 2008, there is a presidential commission on police reforms again, led by IGP Yusuf in 2008. We also have Chief Justice Uwais panel on electoral reforms, which also made reports on police intervention and brutality during the elections. In 2012, we have Osayende reports in the same instance, similar issues. Just recently, just last year, in 2019, there is Tony Ojukwu, the National Human Rights Commission Committee Presidential Panel report on SARS. This one was specifically on SARS. And they made recommendations. So if Nigerians, I mean, the government is telling Nigerians that we have heard your cry, you know, one will be careful to believe such stories because it has become a lifestyle. So the citizens don't have total trust. They don't even have trust at all in their leaders. So everybody is suspicious of the other. And that is not how it's supposed to be. So for me, it is not hasty. It is long overdue. In fact, this thing would have been done years ago. So can you recap the second leg of your question?
Creating the SWAT.
Okay, yes. You know, like I said, the SWAP and SWAP, I hope I got this correctly, and SARS. Yes, there have been assurances that all those who were members of the SARS will not be part of this units they just created. That is going to be intelligence driven, you know, that they are going to have a psychological examination, and they are going to ensure that those who have the requisite qualification will man such organization, such units. But you see, those who are working in Nigerian police today, we are going to get all those SARS, SWAP operative or whatever you call them, from the current police structure. We are not going to heaven to get them. Most of Nigerian police men and women, particularly those at the rank and files, are illiterate. I'm sorry to say this. So when you have encounter with these people, they don't understand when you begin to tell them about basic rights of citizens, you know, and how to go about their duties. The popular state language is that, are you trying to teach me my job? Because it's your job, you have monopoly of knowledge. So I think what we need to do is a holistic reform of the police institution, not just creating a SARS within a space of 24 hours, and you want us to believe that it's not going to be business as usual. That is not going to work. And that is why protesters are also calling for disbandment of the swap or whatever you call it, because they feel that it has not addressed their concerns. So for me, like I said, the way forward is overhaul of police structure and having a holistic reforms. For me, I would mention that if government of the day is interested and they are serious, they want to show sincerity of purpose to address the issues confronting Nigerians, not just SARS or police, but in other areas of man endeavors. Let me deal with police because that is what gave rise to this continuous protest. For me, the 5 basic fundamental issues that Nigerian government should consider in addressing these ailments with Nigerian security system is 1, manpower. Having a credible people, qualified people, not just from one geopolitical zone. We have almost every youth in this country is a graduate, at risk of sounding too modest. So it is important that going forward, the recruitment process of Nigerian police should be from graduates, at least those who understand the society itself. Because this illiterate, those who are, all those guys at the police structure, they have lost focus, they have lost, in fact, they are no longer in tandem with the current realities. So they are dealing with, trying to address new issues with old format. It cannot work. So having good manpower is one. Then funding is a critical area, not just in the police, but in other sectors of the society. But police own is quite appalling. You show the picture of the police station in Nigeria, and it looks like Kirikiri or Ikoyi prison. It is a shamble. So how do you think somebody coming from that kind of environment will have the right thinking, the right orientation to deal with reasonable members of the society? So police needs to be funded. Funding here goes beyond salaries. Also in the welfare of policemen and women. Because this thing has a psychological effect. If you are hungry, you are angry. And if you are driving a Porsche car, you see a policeman who perhaps may have spent 10 years in the force, and he may be a sergeant and is earning less than 55,000 naira. And he sees a young man driving a Porsche car, sitting in a cozy environment, enjoying himself. It triggers this anger because he felt that, is he not part of this society where these ones are enjoying life? He'll be on the sun from morning till night. There's no arrangement for his family, for their Medicare, no accommodation. Almost all of them live in slums. What is 50,000 naira in Nigerian's currency? A policeman or woman who has families, you pay rent. Come on. This is not a rocket science. We have to deal with the root cause of the issue. So funding is very critical. If you review the salaries of these men and women in uniform, they are human beings. So that they will have the right mind, right frame of mind to work. If you're in that environment, you do worse. The environment will subject you, because survival is the first law, self-preservation. You preserve yourself. Now, logistics and equipment, of course, that one cannot be overemphasized, because the primary responsibility of police is protection of lives and properties. So they have to have the logistics and the equipment. In today's Nigeria, you don't carry AK-47. The kind of crimes that are evolving, that are emerging, is beyond AK-47. You cannot use AK-47 on internet fraudster, somebody who is constantly on the computer doing those illegal transactions. So it takes a mind that is educated to be able to address these emerging criminal trends, organized crimes. You'll be wondering how protest was able to get this kind of support. It is because of technology, because of social media. People are constantly engaged. They are constantly informed. Some of these police officers don't even know how to use smartphones. So when they tell you, open your phone, open your laptop, they are not even seeing anything. They just want you to admit to something or to pay them, give them money, and they move on. Give them your phone, they will not see anything. I'm telling you. So I cannot emphasize the need for Nigerian police to be well equipped. Then training. Training goes beyond training in the handling of ammunition, because that's the kind of training they are used to. It's analog training, gathering of intelligence, and training. Talking about training starts from recruitment. If you don't get the right guys for this job, no matter what you invest in training of these people, nothing, there won't be any result. So we have to go to the basis. That in recruitment of these officers, we should be very careful of the kind of people we recruit. Days are gone when you want to belong to some of these, maybe the armed forces or the police. You know, you go through character checks. You publish your names in the newspapers for people who have one or two negative things to say about you to come forward during the interview section. But what happens today? It's about the manner, the center determines who gets what. So somebody, like somebody mentioned, that have been staying or jail level on that bridge, for instance, maybe who have been a thug of a politician, and eventually the politician got to government. He has to compensate these guys. And you now armed robbers. These guys are already armed robbers. They are thugs. So you now legalize their trade by enlisting them into our security system, security forces. Why do you think Boko Haram is still dealing with Nigeria? We still have a lot of uprising, particularly in the north. You think they don't have brothers and sisters? So if you have people who don't have that integrity, who don't understand, don't have passion for the job, because for me, what is important is someone's passion. If you have passion for what you do, you may not necessarily, you'll be satisfied with the little you have. I'm not saying that it's not good for you to be taken care of. But you see that most people in the police force never in their widest imagination thought they would become they'll become security men and women. It is circumstances, lack of jobs. Is it when graduates cannot get jobs? Is it those ones in the street that will get the jobs? But they are the ones that will be willing to do the bidding. And I forgot to mention, I have to be careful with my words or what I say, particularly in public. But the truth is this: ending SARS or ending SWAP or whatever they call it is not the issue. What the police is grappling with today started from the top, from the IG. IG cannot exonerate himself from these ills of police. They cannot. Those guys, particularly those SARS guys, they make returns to somebody. Those are the guys before now are said to be, they are the ones that knows how to do the job. Because in their warped mind, doing the job is getting returns for your boss. How can you be giving targets to policemen and women? How can what do you call it? DP of a police station be the one generating funds to be able to take care of recurrent expenses or expenditures within the Nigerian police? Police is not into a business of making money. They're not into business of doing business. But you see, what happens is that when you go there, even for you to make statements, they'll tell you buy paper. And when you ask questions, when you look at it critically, we are all human beings. If I'm working for the police, I'm not only contending that I'm poorly paid. You're not saying I should use my own salary to buy paper, pen, ink, photocopy, and so on to do the job for which I'm being paid for. Nobody will do that. So that's why you see them, they're always interested. Nigerian police, particularly, they have never been interested in any investigation. I'm sorry to say that if there's any policeman on this webinar listening to me, they have never. It has always been, once you come to police station to make a report, the next thing is, where is the person to go and arrest? What are you arresting for? That is why even in courts today, they have been bombarded with a lot of charges, frivolous charges, because most of these things are civil matters, civil disputations, and people will go to police. Police threatens you, either you pay or they'll charge you to court. And eventually, if you are charged to court, that is the end of the whole case, because there's no investigation. So they are looking for money. Once they recover, police, they also into the business of recovery now. Despite repeated judicial pronouncements that police is not a debt recovery agent. But you see, they go there because that is where the juice is. You see what the SARS unit is battling with? That is where the juice is. They are chasing those guys with money. And most of these Yahoo in quotes, boys, they are willing to part with anything. So those guys are big fishes when you catch them. So they have derailed. Otherwise, tell me, what is the role of SARS, Special Anti-Robbery Squad, with Yahoo boys in quotes? That's internet crimes. They are more, the role of SARS ordinarily should be violent crimes like kidnapping, armed robbery. And they veered off from their core mandate and went to, what do you call it? Chasing Yahoo boys, where they will get money from. So if you are driving good car in this country, you're an endangered species. So we need to be very careful. We need to begin to interrogate these things. Nigerian government knows this. The police hierarchy knows this. Forget what is playing out in the media. Everybody is trying to play the ostrich, trying to, have a public image of themselves. Investigate the accounts of this now disbanded SARS, and you see that most of them live above their means. Where did they get the money from? So I really don't want to get personal, emotional about it, but I think we have to make a concerted effort if we really want to make progress. Because even the mood of the country now is tense. I don't want to share a personal story. That will be a story for another day. Then I have spoken about manpower. I spoke about funding. I spoke about logistics and equipment. Then I spoke about training. And perhaps the last but not the least will be welfare. I've spoken on that before now. So I do not think to dwell on that. So we need a holistic approach to deal with this issue. The issue is beyond police. The issue now is about good governance. The issue now is about the future of the younger generation, the future of the generations yet unborn, the future of our children. If after how many years we are still dealing with issues such as this, it means that we have nowhere, we are not going nowhere. And you see some state governors or some areas where they are telling you COVID-19, breach of COVID-19 protocols. But during the election, nobody talks about COVID-19. So it's about their interests, personal interests. I'm particularly happy that Nigerian youths have woken up from their slumber to demand for what is theirs. And I do not think it's out of place for citizens who are really the employers of government. The citizens are the employers. And government officials are the employees of the citizens. So if your employer says, do this, that is what you should do. And Nigerian citizens are saying, enough is enough. So we have to take back our country. We have to do what it takes for us to get it right. And I'm sure that this protest is not dying anytime soon. It will continue to interrogate all these issues that have been bedeviling Nigeria. I think that is my response to that question dealing with who will now do. Okay, I think I'm not done with who will now do the role of the SARS. Who will now take up the role of the SARS, or the swap. Like I said, it's two sides of the coin. That whether swap or SARS, the point is that the police, Nigerian police as an institution, is trained to deal with any kind of crime. So it is not specific to a particular unit. Any unit can be created. We don't say because I'm not under a special anti-robbery squad or SWAP or whatever. When you see violent crimes, you cannot apprehend. No. So for me, it is not about creating those units of the police. It is about dealing with the root cause of the problem. We are scratching the surface. So whether SARS or no SARS, the police has a responsibility to protect citizens and their properties, first and foremost. I think that's my intervention with respect to that question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chime. You've really done justice to the topic. I wish you would have continued on and on. There is an observation here. So Mary Oyegasi, she said, funding also extends to the police stations. I understand some of these police stations are not funded by the government and yet are left to fend for themselves through bribery and extortion, of course. Yes, Mr. Chime addressed that. If you go to the police station,
yes, I think I have already addressed that when I was saying that when you go to a police station, you'll be the one to pay for you to even make a report. In fact, just recently, one of my friends was attacked on the traffic and his phone was stolen, and they used that phone to empty his account. This guy was practically penniless. And the first point of call was to visit the nearest police station to report, to see the possibility of tracking the culprits. And he was asked to pay money. The guy showed them his bank statement. That he's like a church rat. Where is he getting the money from? And that was the end of the case. So you can imagine citizens who believe that when they come to police will be able to investigate their matters, and they will now turn around to demand from that same society or citizen who have become a victim of bad governance. Yes, the question asked by Mary is not out of place. You see, it depends on the pendulum. I mean, it depends on where you belong. If you belong to the school of thought that said if you are that says that if you're a policeman, if you're in their shoes, and you know that it's not as if there is no funding for police, it is not adequate. It is not. If I tell you what every police station in Nigeria gets as monthly allocation, you marvel. With the number of crime rates in Nigeria, how is that going to work? So police has to improvise. That is not a justification for what they are doing, but they really have to improvise. Otherwise, who will now bail the cat? So that is why I said the problem of Nigerian police is institutional. Even from the meager allocation to police stations or or police, state commissioner for police, which will, of course, will trickle down whatever is remaining for the divisional areas. You see, so the money at the end of the day will be little to nothing to work on. So these guys have to do what they need to do. Apart from the meager monthly support or allocation government gives to these units, there are other things that needs to be taken care of. Have you visited a police station in recent time? It stinks. So when somebody's, and Nigerian system has made, we have institutionalized we have institutionalized corruption. An average Nigerian thinks that is the normal thing to do. So when you start protesting, somebody will be asking you whether you know what you are doing, because in their mind, that is the norm. We have normalized abnormality. Even the little money that will eventually get to these people, those are the high-ranking officers will corner it. Have you seen police vehicles? Have you seen how Rekiti and the jalopy kind of vehicles they use? Because that vehicle belongs to the society. Most of these policemen have their own personal cars, well maintained, but it belongs to the society. So is that how you are going to, if you say a criminal, can that vehicle chase anybody? So those cars are not even roadworthy. The police need to maintain it. They need to fuel those cars. They have support staff. So the problem is actually beyond the protests and beyond the EdSARS. We know, everybody knows the nitty-gritty. We all know the root cause of our problem. We know where the rain began to beat us. So we should retrace our steps and do the proper thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chime. Wow, we have short time left to round up. I would have loved this webinar to continue. I'm enjoying the conversation. We're not sending in more questions, just few questions. Please send in your questions. If you would like to talk or contribute, you can indicate by raising up your hand. If you like to ask your question via voice instead of writing it, you can indicate by raising up your hand. Okay, so we're going to conclude. This is not going to take long. In summary, what the two speakers have tried to say is that the entire institution of the police needs reform, and the entire system of governance in Nigeria also needs reform, because like the last speaker said, it starts from the top, from the politicians, even the IG, Inspector General of Police. Thank you very much. So to wrap up, we're just going to talk about tips on how to do protest and come out alive. A lot of people are afraid of going to protest, even though the speakers have assured us that it's their right to protest. Nobody has the right to ban us, and the police are even supposed to protect protesters. This past week, there was a clash between the anti-SARS and pro-SARS. People are agitating that the government have paid hoodlums to attack anti-SARS, protesting against SARS, protesting the end of SARS. And as funny as it was, there was no police on site to effect peace and to effect arrests. And people have been agitating, and that is even what made them believe that they have been sponsored. The pro-SARS have been sponsored, because when the anti-SARS started their protest, the police effected a lot of arrests. Some of these people are still in custody. Some have been released. Their release are being processed. But when the pro-SARS came and attacked the anti-SARS, there were no police on site to protect the peaceful protesters. Okay, so we don't have to be afraid of going to protest. We've earlier mentioned that the different ways in which you can protest. This is also one of the ways. Okay, so to stay alive when you go for a protest, first of all, you have to ensure that your protest is peaceful. And the other thing that people have been afraid of is the military involvement. So this is the first tip I'm going to give. Go with a Nigerian flag, no matter how small, and make sure you try to have it handy and flag it high during the protest. The police, the military are not supposed to have a shoot fire when the Nigerian flag is raised. It is treason for them to do that. So that can protect you. Then go with baking soda mixed in water. You have to mix it with water. It neutralizes tear gas. During protests, for police to disperse, for police to end a protest, one of the things they do that that is very known, that is notorious, is to spray the tear gas, and everybody dismisses. And you know how hot the tear gas is to the eyes. But with baking soda mixed in water, use it. If you use it to wash your eyes, it neutralizes that tear gas. Okay, so do not protest alone. Go with someone that you trust, a friend, a family member. Do not go alone. Even though you are at the protest ground, you know there are millions of people there with you. You think you are not alone. You may be alone in their midst because none of them know you. So you must go with someone that you trust. At least that, even if the person may not be able to protect you, the person may be able to say what happened to you, and will be able to your loved ones will be able to trace you from there, and civil society may be able to bring justice to you. Um, sorry. Communicate with your family member on social media, via social media, and let them know your location. Update them consistently or about where you are. Okay, have a valid means of identification. It is very, very important. Very, very important. That's the driver's license, voter's card, whichever means of identification you have. Even if you don't have any of those, you can go with any means of identification that has your photographic picture, your photograph on it. So please, it is very, very important. It will help people on the protest ground identify who you are and know who to contact. Make sure you are not sticking to any dress code. Please, if you stick to a dress code, it will be easier for people to identify you to a certain group and attack you. And it will be easier for example, if there's any clash between two groups, they can easily you'll be their prey, their first prey. And finally, look out for your neighbor. It is very important, and that is the major reason I said do not go alone to the protest. Go with someone you trust, and so that that person can look out for you and you can look out for the person. And still, even though you go with someone you trust, look out for others too that may not go with someone. They may not have anybody to go with. Okay, so thank you. I pray we win this race of end SARS, end police brutality and bad governance. And as you can see, our voices are being heard. The government is yielding to our request, but we also have to mobilize ourselves and be coordinated, because even if there's a committee set up to meet our request, who do we appoint to go and represent us? We cannot go together. Who do we appoint? And that is why I love the fact that most of our requests are written down. It has gone from 5 to now 7. So it's written down, at least we know what we are asking for. And the more we request for, the more we write it down, so that whoever we asked to represent us and bring our interests and concerns to the government for implementation, we know that those people know what we want. It is in black and white, it is on paper, and it is all over social media. You can support the protest peacefully on social media if you cannot go out to protest. You can support the protest with what you do, what you love to do. If you cook, you can send food to the protesters on ground. Some of them sleep on the protest grounds. They need to be fed. If you can also clean up the environment after protest, you can protest as give back to the society. You can pray. Prayer is also a protest. I mentioned that the Catholics organized their own protest and they prayed the rosary at Lekki and Lekki Tollgate and at Alausa yesterday and today. So there are a lot of ways we can join the protest, and most especially social media. It is our power. We youths have proven to the Nigeria that we have a voice. This is not the military regime. This is a democratic regime. This is democracy. Our parents were afraid of protesting because they were used to military regime. If you talk, you're dead, you're being flogged. But right now, we youths were not afraid of being flogged. We're not afraid of dying. We just want good condition. We want good governance. We may not know who has the best interest our best interest to vote for, because they may promise a lot of things while they are campaigning. When we vote for them, they come out and they do whatever they want. But we can ensure that they give us what we want with our voice, by lending our voices. Back then, our parents didn't have a voice because when you talk, they shut you down. Even till now, they still try to do it. They still try to shut the media down. But no, we are not afraid. We have social media. We can easily mobilize ourselves through social media. So just keep up the work, keep up the strength. We shouldn't give up. From end SARS, we'll go to end bad governance. Gradually, we'll get there. Sorry, I was cut off. Okay, so thank you. Hold on, so sorry. My internet, I don't know what is wrong with it. Okay, so I'll put it on the chat right now so everybody can access. Any pressing issue that has to do with the law that you need clarification on, you can send us an email anytime and we would look at it and discuss it together. Are there any more questions before we wrap up? Can you hear me? Are there any more questions? Can we end the meeting?
Yes, you can. All right. Thank
Okay.
you so much for having me, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Kingsley.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Soma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uju.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Collins, for attending. Bye.